Welcome to Wonderland, the podcast where I go down the rabbit hole to research things you may be curious about. My name is Amii, and I'll be your guide on this trip to Wonderland. Hi there, my Wonderlings, and welcome back for another visit down the rabbit hole. I've picked this topic after joining some of my coworkers for tacos and drinks after work one day. We went to this really delicious Mexican restaurant, and after I ordered my meal, a friend commented on the fact that I asked for no cilantro. She remarked that she loved cilantro, and when I told her that to me, it tastes like soap, she couldn't believe what I was saying. So join me this week as we learn more about the divisive green herb found in lots of Mexican and Asian dishes. Cilantro.
Cilantro?
Cilantro?
Cilantro.
Cilantro?
Cilantro.
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 Yeah, cilantro. This one's on cilantro.
So what exactly about cilantro had us wondering? We're going to get into why this herb tastes so good to some people, but to others it tastes like they've washed their mouths out with soap.
I wonder.
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 Cilantro, also known as coriander and sometimes as Chinese parsley, is an herb in the family Apiaceae. It grows wild over a wide area of Western Asia and South Europe, but has been cultivated and also grows in many people's home gardens all over the world. It's used in a variety of cuisines, from Mexican to Indian to Chinese, Filipino, and other Asian dishes. So do you like cilantro?
I do now. I used to not like it.
I hate it.
I don't know. I think my preference would be that there isn't cilantro because I don't think that for me, it doesn't add anything to the flavor. It takes away. I guess I probably don't like the taste of cilantro.
How would you describe the taste of cilantro?
Yeah, kind of, I guess, earthy and bitter.
It's very distinctive. I mean, it definitely has its own taste. You know, it tastes like cilantro, but I guess it's not super sweet. It's more of a not really.
Yeah, to me, it's an herby taste.
Yeah. It's not sweet or sugary or something
Kind of like
that.
basil, you know. Or
Yeah, there's a little zing to it. Like it
Kinda
has
like
a little.
parsley, maybe. Parsley-ish,
Yeah.
sort of.
It tastes like soap, and I hate it.
Apparently, most people describe cilantro as having a tart or lemon-lime taste, just not anyone I spoke to. Though some people may describe it as having a peppery or even pungent taste. It pairs well with lime, and because the whole plant is edible, the stems are often used to provide a fresh, citrusy crunch to a dish. It is thought to add a light, fresh flavor profile that many people enjoy, but not everyone.
I hate it.
Did you know that to some people, cilantro tastes like soap?
I did. Amii Bland has told me multiple times that cilantro tastes like soap to her, but she will not send her order back if it has it in it.
I want to rebut that, but it's not untrue.
Yes, I
Yes.
do.
Most certainly do.
Have you always known that?
No,
No.
very recent.
It became like a big debate.
Yeah, one of our
It divided
Tuesday Wednesday
houses.
conversation.
Yeah.
So before me, did you know that cilantro tasted like soap to some people?
No, I didn't know that cilantro tasted like soap before you.
Okay, so this is an episode where I would have benefited from talking to strangers instead of the people around me because they know cilantro tastes like soap to your favorite Wonderland hostess. I have found, however, that the first time I tell most people that, they look at me like I have 3 heads. But I'm not alone in this. Between 3 and 21% of the population, depending on their ethnicity, report cilantro as having a distinctively and repulsively soapy taste. According to one study, of the Southern and Northern European respondents, about 13% said cilantro tastes like soap, but only 8% of East Asian respondents and 4% of South Asian respondents were anti-cilantro. John Hayes, a sensory expert and professor of food science at Penn State, theorizes that since cilantro is a featured herb in South and East Asia, it may be that cultures that experience less soapiness would be more likely to adopt it. Interestingly, one of the most notorious chefs in history, Julia Child,
Welcome to the French Chef. I'm Julia Child.
Despised cilantro. In fact, she told Larry King that if she saw cilantro, or arugula for that matter, on a dish, she would pick it out and throw it on the floor. There are documented instances of an aversion to cilantro back to the 15 and 1600s, but typically the aversion was described as being more akin to tasting like bedbug smell. In fact, there are some etymologists who believe that coriander, remember that is the name of the plant, is derived from the Old French coriandre, which comes from Latin coriandrum, and in turn from ancient Greek, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce, but just know it's close to coriander, possibly derived from or related to Copicorus, which is a bedbug, and was given this name on account of its putrid, bug-like smell. So do you know why some people think it tastes like soap?
I think it's a gene.
Is it? I'll go with that. I don't know why.
It's something genetic.
I've never given it any thought as to why cilantro tastes like soap to some people, but if I'm thinking about it now, my guess is that your European background means that you're probably particular to food that has no seasoning or really any flavor.
That seems mean for no reason. And also, cilantro goes wild in Europe, sir.
All right. Your English background.
Story time, my wonderlings. Originally, I didn't know that I didn't like cilantro. What I did know, however, is that there were some Mexican places that I just didn't want to eat at. I remember once going to Casa Linda on Columbiana Drive and lamenting the entire meal to the rest of my companions that I didn't feel like the restaurant rinsed their dishes off after they washed them, because every single thing I ate tasted like soap. In my head, the fork or the plate was the culprit because no matter what I ate, all I tasted was soap. It was inedible for me. But everyone else swore that their dishes tasted just fine and not soapy at all. Fast forward a few years and I spit into a little tube and sent it off to Ancestry.com to get my DNA breakdown. When my results came back, they included some fun little trait things like if I was likely to have attached earlobes and what color my eyes were. But included in these fun pages was a little section called Cilantro Aversion. The app reported, and I'm reading directly from it, we looked at 2 genetic markers, or locations in your DNA, to estimate whether you love or hate the taste of cilantro. Amii, your DNA suggests that you dislike the taste of cilantro. Friends, I was floored at this new information. Casa Linda didn't do a subpar job washing their dishes. They just used a lot of cilantro. So what was it about my DNA that made me dislike an herb that no one else around me seemed to dislike in the same way? Well, it turns out that gene receptor OR6A2 is likely to blame for me and everyone else who feels the way I do. According to 23andMe, there is a single nucleotide polymorphism, or SNP, that is tied to this aversion, and it lies in OR6A2, a cluster of receptors responsible for olfactory response. A variation here elicits the negative response due to the presence of aldehyde. The variation in the OR6A2 gene allows some people, like me, to recognize, especially to smell, the aldehydes in cilantro. This is possible because odor plays such a large part in how we perceive flavor, something called a retronasal stimulation. A McNair Scholars Research Journal article from 2018 describes a process by which fragrant compounds travel down the back of the mouth and into the nose via the nasopharynx, and then our olfactory receptors identify and interpret the odor compounds, contributing to what we taste. Aldehydes themselves are not soapy, but rather started widely being added to synthetic soap around the 1950s. And that's when people started to describe a soapy taste more often, and less often the taste of dead bugs. And because I can't help but wander down rabbit holes when I'm researching these episodes, did you know that aldehydes have been added to perfumes since the early 1900s? Technically, the use of these aldehyde chemical composites made their debut in 1905 when perfumer Louis Armagnac created Rêve d'Or, or Golden Dream. But many people erroneously attribute Chanel No. 5
Number 5, Chanel,
for being the first to use them. This may be due in part to Coco Chanel's perfumer, Ernest Beau, mistakenly adding more aldehydes than Miss Chanel had requested, resulting in a formula that she adored, and would market the use of aldehydes as part of her signature scent. It turns out that aldehydes were way more interesting than I'd have thought, so I had to jump out of that rabbit hole before this became a 3-hour episode on aldehydes instead of a quick little 10 or 20-minute episode on cilantro. I asked folks if they knew anyone who didn't like the taste of cilantro. Well, because they all knew me, they had this to say.
Do you know anyone who hates the taste of cilantro because it tastes like soap?
I wonder. Oh, I wonder.
Yes,
Down
I do.
the rabbit hole we go.
We don't even have to go that far.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Do you know anyone besides me?
I do know people who don't like it, but I've never heard anybody say it tastes like soap.
Same exact. They're just like, I don't care for it. I don't want it on my food, but it's not like because it's soapy.
Yeah.
So besides you and me, do you know other people who think it tastes like soap?
My dad and Shannon. I know that.
Interestingly, despite the fact that cilantro aversion is linked to genetics and as a result, a heritable trait, both my mother and father love the stuff. My mom wants extra cilantro in a bowl when she has Mexican. She likes it so much. I'm not sure where my variant came from, but I guess maybe it's a recessive trait? I don't know. I'll have to go down that rabbit hole sometime that I don't have you all here with me. All this talk about cilantro being so divisive. Is it possible that there are other foods that have this same kind of divide? Do you know any other foods that taste different to some people than to most?
Not that I can think of.
I'm sure I do, and it's going to keep me up tonight when I start thinking about them.
No, cilantro is the only one that comes to mind.
One of the most common things I saw when researching this was chilies, because some people love them and some people hate them. But according to Live Science, everyone experiences the same burning sensations caused by chilies. Just some people like the sensation and others don't. They're responding to the same taste experience, just in different ways. I did find that there's a genetic variation in OR7D4 that makes some people more sensitive to the smell of, well, boar taint, an unpleasant odor in male pigs caused by the hormone androstenone. For people with this variant, if there is androstenone in the pork they're eating, which happens if a male pig isn't castrated, they will find the pork very unappetizing. Stepping away from the olfactory genes and into the taste receptors, there are some additional examples to this to some degree. Hayes, who we mentioned earlier, indicated that there are 25 genes that encode bitter taste receptors in humans, and 4 or 5 contain functional polymorphisms. These mutations change the way people experience bitter food. If you like a hoppy beer, you may also like the bitterness of Brussels sprouts and kale due to the gene TAS2R38. If you're not all about grapefruit or tonic water, it's likely, at least in part, due to TAS2R31, which is also the gene that may predict whether or not you like saccharin. And while our genetics may predisposition us to dislike cilantro or IPAs, it turns out that it's not necessarily forever. As is the case with many things in biology, our environment also plays a hand. According to Hayes, biology isn't destiny. With repeated exposure, even those of us who hate cilantro could come to love it, if we wanted to. So do you know anyone who has any of these food aversions linked to our DNA? Let me know on social or by sending me an email. I'd love to hear about it. That's all I have for you today, my Wonderlings. Until next time, be safe, be kind, and stay curious. The Welcome to Wonderland podcast is copyrighted by Amii Bland and is part of Big Media. This podcast was recorded in the Welcome to Wonderland recording closet, which is also where I keep my clothes. It's a tight fit in here, friends, but I love you enough to endure. Any thoughts or opinions expressed as part of this production are those of the hostess unless otherwise indicated. Subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Please follow, like, and share this podcast. Find us on Facebook at Welcome to Wonderland the Podcast and on X, the app formerly known as Twitter, at Wonderland_pod. Check out behind-the-scenes moments and other videos on TikTok at Wonderland Pod. And finally, check out pictures, additional information, and go further down the rabbit hole, or pick up some sweet Welcome to Wonderland merchandise at our website, www.wtwlpod.com. To submit corrections, additional information, or requests for episodes, please email the hostess at welcometowonderlandthepod@gmail.com.
Does soap taste like cilantro to you?
Shut up. And yes, it does. They taste the same.
Oh, that's fair.
Oh, do you mean does soap taste to me like cilantro is supposed to taste?
Yes.
Yeah, no. Tastes like soap.
All right. Well, now we know.
Hey, it's Zach from What the Pod Was That and the All About Nothing podcast. And America's birthday is coming up faster than we can track. Celebrate Independence Day in style with ZJZ Designs' latest t-shirt collection on TeePublic. Introducing 3 brand new 4th of July heart designs that perfectly capture the spirit of America. These shirts feature vibrant, patriotic colors and unique heart-shaped designs that stand out at any celebration. Whether you're heading to a fireworks show, a barbecue, or just enjoying the summer sun, our 4th of July heart collection has something for everyone. Show off your love for the red, white, and blue with ZJZ Design. Visit ZJZ Design's TeePublic shop today and get ready to shine this Independence Day. Links in the show notes or visit ZJZDesigns.com and check out all the great designs. New designs come up often. ZJZDesigns.com.
The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2024, all rights reserved.